hauling freight across the state line, watching RG Bargy's logo start to shine.
G'day, RG Bargy crew. Hope you're having a fantastic day today and your family's happy and healthy. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at my realistic profile. This is a bit of an update to previous realistic videos that I've done, mainly because there's been the update of 1.60, and this is so that you can use or see which mods I use in 1.60 to make the game as realistic as possible. It's not just some mods. I'll show you some settings later on in the video as well. Now, just before we do go any further, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help me out with the nasty YouTube algorithm, and it enables me to provide more free videos for you, just like this one. Also, like and share so that other people can do the same. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's get into it. So, yeah, the mods that I use to close to realism are as follows. So, first of all, one thing I will say is that these mods do work on 1.60. I've had to change up a few of the older ones that I used to use because they're now incompatible. So that's why I decided to make this video, because it is an update to the game and to the mods that I'm using. So let's get into it. All right, so the first one I use is Brighter Nights, and Brighter Nights basically does exactly what it says. It enables the nights to be brighter. The one thing that I found in ATS is that the nights can be incredibly dark and makes it very difficult to see where you're going, especially if you're turning a sharp corner or you're parking in a very poorly lit area. This enables the nights to look more like a half or full moon night with a bit of light, so that you can see exactly what you're doing. So that's Brighter Nights. And again, I'll leave links to all these in the description below so that you can find them. The next one I use is Realistic Brutal Graphics. Now, this is a fantastic graphics program. It has just recently been updated for 1.60. It tells you all the things that it does here. I'm not going to go through these one by one and describe them exactly how they improve the game, because it would make the video way too long. But you can find that all out when you go to download this program. Most of these are Steam programs, and that all of them are free, so you don't have to buy them. They are all free. And with Realistic Brutal Graphics, I also use Reshade and his shader program that you can get off his website. And again, I'll do a different video on the Reshade and how to install his shaders to make the game so much more realistic as far as graphical goes, as with, visuals. But again, that'll be another video because it's too long to go into right here and now. I use an American colored background, but that's not for realism. That's just one of those mods that I've added. But the next realistic mod that I use is Enhanced Trains. Okay, now Enhanced Trains, what it does is it adds longer trains and adds multiple new trains. Now, if you're the type of person that gets really peeved off at waiting at level crossings for long trains, then don't put this in your game, because it basically does add some short and some long trains, and I could tell you they are very long. Several new rail car liveries, blah 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 blah. Okay, so that's what that one does, and the reason I add that is because I felt that when you're pulling up at level crossings, there was trains going past that had 3 or 4 carriages, and that was it. With this one, there are multiple carriages, just like they would be in real life. There are short ones, there are long ones. It's random, again, just like it is in real life. The next one is Sound Fixes Pack. Always, no matter what profile I'm building, I always add this one because it is such a good sound fixes pack. It adds incredible sounds to the game and just enhances everything. And again, I'm not going to go through everything that it does, but again, you can read all about it on Steam when you go to download it. Again, highly recommend this one, and a big shout out to Drive Safely, who makes this one. I always try to mention his name in any of the profile or mod videos that I do because it is such a good mod. Okay, the next one is an economy, or called Roadbound Economy ATS Medium. And again, it does exactly what it's saying, is it alters the economy to be way more realistic. It reduces the fees that you get paid for your cargo deliveries to more realistic. It reduces or increases costs in some areas, like, well, again, I'll quickly, economy. Lower load revenue, tighter delivery margins, stronger damage penalties, and more expensive expansions, meaning garages and the like. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, makes the game more realistic in its economy. Okay, so that's another one that I use, and it's great. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. Then I get into I'm going to pass these because they're not basically realistic stuff. These are just mods that I've added. But then I go in for the sound, engine sound packages. I have the Cummins Signature Gen 2 sounds. This fella here. I have JC's Amateur Pack. And again, hat off to Johnny Cash, who makes this pack. I'm sure it's not the real Johnny Cash. But yeah, this sound package, again, it's one that I always add to all my profiles. Highly recommend. And then the Mortal and Cash Cummins M11 engine sound mod, remastered. I always add these to my profiles because of the realistic engine sounds that you get from all these packages. Okay, and then to the GPS mods that I use. Actually, that one should be up there. Engines and transmissions, that's another one that I use. It's not all that realistic. Some of the engines in this one are out there. For example, there's a 10,000 horsepower engine, but there are other engines and transmissions in this package that are realistic or more realistic, so therefore it's been added. Then we go for the GPS. I use this GPS package here for trucks like the K100E and the Mac R, because the GPSs that you get with them are normally either hard to read or too small or whatever. This adds fairly, I think it's 3 variants of the GPS, the actual physical GPS. So one of them is quite large. So if you're having a hard time reading it, by using this one, you'll find that you can read it a lot easier because the screen is a lot larger than the normal GPSs. This GPS PC one is like a heads-up display. And again, this doesn't work in the K100 or the Mac R. That's why I have the 2. This will work in most of the default trucks. I haven't tested it on any of the other modded trucks, but in your default SCS trucks, this will work, and it is like a heads-up display. Again, you can read all about that in the description on Steam and find out exactly what it does. And again, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but you do have this in the more modern trucks. You can get the heads-up display GPSs. In fact, you can get them in the old trucks by buying a standalone heads-up display that plugs into your LiDAR, basically. Then I go with the camera mod. Now, the reason I go with the camera mod is that it adds different angles to the game that, for example, if you're using a GoPro or something like that on a real truck, this gives you the angles that type of camera would give. So if you've ever watched truck drivers that do videos in real life on YouTube, you'll notice that the camera angles are quite numerous. This adds those camera angles and allows you to pan around it and see different angles. So that's why that's added. I had Fazel's Cab Cats because when I was a driver, I used to have a cat that would go with me occasionally, but I had the cat in my cab that looks exactly like the cat that I own in real life. Not necessarily realism, but it does look real in the cab because it's animated, so that's why I go with that. Then we look at Daniel's ATS random events mod, and what that does, and again, I'm not going to go all the way through this, is it adds over 600 different random events that can happen on the road. Now, you may think, 600 is going to mean there's a lot of random events happening. No, you can adjust in-game the degree of random events. But this, as you can see, I'm going to drag this down. I'm definitely not going to tell you all about these, but you can see there's a lot. And it just makes it more interesting and, again, more realistic because you get all these random events happening when an event happens. So you're not getting an increase in random events. You're just getting more variation on the random events. Then I go with the AI Traffic Pack by Jazzy Cats. And the reason I do that is because it adds more vehicles to AI, not more amount, just more variations again on the already boring SCS AI traffic. As you can see here, it shows you all the different vehicles that it adds to the game. And again, because of that, you're getting a more immersive game because you're getting more variation on the traffic that you do see. You're not seeing a greater amount of traffic. You're just seeing a greater variation of traffic. All right. So don't panic that this is going to increase the traffic flow and cause more problems. It won't, because all it's doing is adding a greater variation of traffic vehicles. And that's a Jazzy Cat pack. And that, again, I'll leave links to it in the description. Then we go with the Overweight Trailers and Cargo Pack by Jazzy Cats. And it does exactly what it's saying. It adds overweight trailers and cargo to the game that you can actually get jobs for. So again, it's a greater variation in the jobs and cargo that you can do, adding again more immersion to the game. Then the next one, another traffic pack, is a municipal police pack. And what that does is it basically adds police car liveries to almost every city in California, Nevada, So it's adding the actual liveries, the actual paint jobs and schemes of the police vehicles to the game instead of it being the one type of police paint job. So depending on what part of the country you're in, you'll see the different police vehicles that match that part of the country. Again, adding way more immersion to the game. Then the next one is the Real Eaton Fuller Transmissions. Again, adding more realism by adding actual real Eaton Fuller transmissions. And you'll, again, by reading it, you'll see what transmissions they are and what trucks it will be added to. And I can tell you now, it basically adds them to nearly every truck in the game, including the modded trucks that you may or may not use. That's about it as far as the realistic mods go that I use. And again, I'll leave links to these all in the description. Or actually, I'll leave a link to a Google Drive document to show you all about these realistic mods. I won't have every mod that I've got listed here, but it will be the realistic mod. Now, down the bottom here, again, for more realism, I've added Western Canada, Eastern Canada, DNA, Reformer, West Coast, and for a little bit of a fantasy, I've added the Grand Utopia of America map. It is a fictitious map, but again, I've added that because it gives more variation on the maps that we've got. Coast to coast, because again, it's adding the East Coast. Reformer, because it adds Mexico. DNA, because it adds North America. Western Canada and Eastern Canada, because it adds that whole Canada area. what we'll do is I'll jump into the game and I'll show you on the map what that's adding to the game. But again, the main thing that you're here for is the realistic mods that I use, and the links will be, or a link will be in the description to a document where you can see them all. So let's have a look in game. Okay, so here we are in game. Let's take a look at the map. So you can see those extra add-ons. As you can see, this section here is Discover North America, adding these states and towns and cities. Then you have Coast to Coast, which adds all this section here down through Florida. Then you have Reformer, which adds Mexico and Sierra Nevada, all down through there. Okay, and then you have Western Canada around here, and then Eastern Canada, around here, that is added to it. And then you have Grand Utopia, again, which is a fictitious island off the west coast of America. So that's what the map adds, or the map add-ons add to the immersion of the game. Now let's take a look at the GPS that I was talking about. Let's have a look at that. As you can see here, there is the GPS there. Now the standard GPS that you get in this truck is normally only half the size of that. So it would make it extremely hard to read anything on it. So that's why I went with that GPS mod, because it now creates a bigger GPS for you to have a look at. And not only that, it also adds a little bit of information. For example, when I go to the widget and turn on navigation, as you can see, it's showing you a demonstration of what you'll see when you have the navigation going. If you've got a job, let's do that again so you can see that. So if you've got a job, you'll see that it's got scaffolding, it's got that. And normally down the bottom here too, when you do have a job, it will give you an estimated time of arrival to the job. But if I, like me, I don't want this cluttering up my screen, I turn that off, because in real life you wouldn't have something floating in the middle of the truck, if you know what I mean, in mid-air. Because I don't want that there, I want a GPS that's going to give me the information that I require. With the stuff that I've got down in the right there, it will show me a certain amount of job information. Like it will show me what the job is, how much it weighs, how much I'm going to get paid for it, and where it's going to, but it won't tell me an estimated time of arrival, which is ridiculous, because that's one of the things you want to know. With this GPS that I'm using here now near the cat, it actually will have an ETA in a countdown type of ETA, if you know what I mean. So if it's 2 hours until I get to the job, it will start at 2 hours and then count down until I get closer and closer. And it actually provides that, so that's another good thing with it. It has the time at the bottom, the actual time of the day right now, and it also has an ETA at the top once you have a job. In fact, let me see if I can get a job and quickly show that to you. Okay, so now if you look down the bottom there, you can see it's telling me that it's empty pallets, 16,000 pounds, going from Fayetteville going to Fayetteville from where we are at the moment. Okay, so now if I go and pick the job up, again, this is just for demonstration purposes. So if I go and pick this job up, by turning off the navigation so that it's not cluttering up my screen, I lose the important information, and I'll show you what I mean so you better understand what I'm getting at. Okay, let's do that. Right, so now we've picked the job up. Now, as you can see down there, it's telling me I'm going to Fayetteville and what the job is, but it's also saying that I've got 54 hours to complete the job. Not telling me that that's how long it's going to take me to get there. That's just how much time is allotted for me to finish the job. But if I did this and I turn navigation on, now you can see down the bottom here, time I expected to get there, and that it's going to take me 20 hours to get there. But I don't want this on here because, it's, like I say, it's not realistic. So if I turn that off, you lose that information, as you can see. But now, if you have a look up the top of the actual GPS in the middle of the screen, you can see that it's showing an ETA, estimated time of arrival, is in 20 hours and 4 minutes. And then I've got the time of day down the bottom, which is 3:54. So now I know that it's going to take me 20 hours to get to the job, and I can watch that ETA ticking down. So if I'm worried about being late, I can check the ETA and see how long I've got to get to the job and maybe speed up, or you get the idea, speed up or take a break or whatever, if I've got time to, if you know what I mean. So that's what's great about this GPS, is it gives you all the information that becomes missing, or not all the information, but the main information that you require. It replaces that is missing down the bottom now, because I've turned off the GPS there, if you understand what I mean. Hopefully you do. Now, the other thing I was going to show you is the actual settings I use in-game to make the game more realistic. Let's have a look at the graphics, by the way, so that you can get an idea of what that brutal graphics and whether how clear and concise and crisp the graphics look. Now, that's a combination. Turn this off. I don't normally have Trucky on the realistic, I forgot it was on. Okay, so this is how my screen looks. Let's go back in. That's how it normally looks without all that green widgets at the top when I'm driving in realistic, that is. Just like I say, I forgot that I had it on. But yeah, back to the graphics. As you can see, the graphics are great. Brutal graphics and weather. Yeah, just really improves the graphics of the game. And then on top of that, reshade. Now I'll turn reshade off, and you can see how soft and blurry those things are now. Turn it back on. You can see a major difference in the graphics and the clarity of the game. And again, I'll do another video on how to do that and clear everything up and make it look more realistic in another video. All right, so let's go to the settings, and I'll show you the settings I use to give more realism and immersion. Now, with the new 1.60 update, you've got this new rest state simulation, or mandatory breaks. Now, mandatory breaks are exactly what they sound like. After a certain period of time, you've got to take a 10-hour break, and before you can continue on. I've turned that off now, and I use rest state simulation. And what that does is it allows me to drive and then take a rest to replenish or revive, whatever you want to call it. And therefore, I don't have to take 10-hour mandatory breaks. I can take a 2-hour break or a 4-hour break or a 1-hour break. You get the idea, up to 10 hours. And that's all adjustable when you pull up at a rest stop. I turn traffic offences on. I have my preferred job length at 100%. I have my parking difficulty set to skilled or random, depending on how I feel at the time. I have my random road events set to 20. I have my brain probability set to 20. And again, these are just settings that I use. You can always adjust that to 100% or whatever you want. This is what I use. I naturally have a H shifter pattern for transmission. And this is my vehicle stability settings, or vehicles physics settings. I found through various tests that I've done in 1.60 that this is closest to realistic physics that I can get. And again, it may vary on your game, but I found that 70 for vehicle stability, 40 for cabin suspension stiffness, 40 for suspension stiffness, 85% for drive shaft torque, 95% for the braking intensity. I have air brake simulation turned on, realistic fuel consumption turned on. Uneven surfaces I have up at 100%, so it's, again, as close to realistic as possible. Cabin accessory physics, I have that turned on because naturally anything in a cabin is affected by inertia. So if you turn left or turn right, it's going to move to either way, either side. Because of that, if you brake suddenly, it will move forward. If you accelerate suddenly, it will move backwards. You get the idea. So I have that turned on. I have truck speed limiter turned on, and that's because in most situations, trucks are limited to their speed. So I turn that on just like in real life. The rest of it is just up to you which ones you want to turn on, whatever. And again, that's just personal preference. Trailer stability, I have that at 75% again, closest I can come to what I feel is realistic in the game. And that's basically it as far as the settings go. Again, the rest of those settings are up to you. So your desired settings, and away you go. So that's what I use as far as mods and settings go in-game to give me a realistic feel. Now let me show you the cab and how, or the truck, and how it reacts to different things now. Oh, by the way, I'm also secretly testing something that I'll do a video. Oops, overread. That I'll do a video on. But I'm doing some testing, and so far the testing looks pretty good. Now I'm doing this to show you how the cab's tilting. Let's hit the brakes. There the cab bounces. That's because I'm trying to get the realism as close as possible as a normal cab would go. Now let's just, as I take off, you'll see the cab lurches backwards. As I stop, it bounces forward, and that's what happens in real life because of your suspension on your cab. It doesn't happen on every truck, but on the K100E it tends to do that because the suspension, and that's one thing I'm trying to get used to in this game now, is the new clutch physics. They're very weird. A lot of people have been having problems with it. Oops, as you can see. I used to be able to take off in higher gears. Now you've got to basically take off in first. Sometimes you're able to take off in second, but you've got to over-rev it to get it to take off, and that's really not right. See how the cab lurches? So again, that's more realism. And go back into the cab. As you can see, the GPS is working fine. Everything looks realistic. They're the settings, they're the mods. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask down in the comments. Also, if you've got any comments about a mod that you know that would add more realism to the game, please let me down in the comments. Let's start some discussion up on it so that we can help each other out and make the game more immersive. So, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that, people. And like I say, links will be in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. And hopefully you did enjoy, and we'll catch up in the next one. Bye-bye for now.